Hello and welcome to today's video. This video is about maximizing your investment returns by analyzing the downward deviation on your portfolio. How much of a negative return your portfolio can give. नीचे की तरफ कितना रिटर्न्स है यही चेक करना है बस. If it is more, it will actually pull your investments down. So in part 1 and part 2 of our maximizing the investment returns, we have seen how we can maximize the returns by the mean variance theory. Using the mean variance of investment returns. We know the more fluctuation we see in the market, the more risky the investment becomes. And if you plot these fluctuations in a graph, you would see how much it has deviated from the mean position in the market. Which means we measure the fluctuation of a return on basis a mean average line and then define its risk by the volatility. But is this enough to figure out our investment risk parameter?
Oh no!
Isn't it safer to identify how much it is volatile on the negative side of the axis, not just on the positive side? सिर्फ यहाँ का नहीं, यहाँ का भी तो देखना चाहिए ना कि कितना नीचे गिर रहा है. How much of it is going down? We need to know how much of our investments are risky when it goes down the mean average line. Isn't it? In this video, we'll see just that. So like this video and subscribe this channel so this video can reach a lot of people. So we are planning to understand how much riskier it is on the negative side. For that, we need to understand the downward deviation. So let's first try and understand the downward deviation. So let's assume you would like to see the company you invested earns an average annual return of 10%. Okay? So this is your mean average return that you're expecting from a company where you have invested. Now what you do is you look for the returns that the company has provided in the last 10 years, right? And you fill in the numbers. See, in 2013 it has given 19%, 18%, -2, 17, 10, 16, 10, -1, 9, and last year it has gone down by -4%. So these are the last 10 years return of the company where you have invested. Let's say this is company X. And you plot a graph with these numbers. You see the numbers here. The green represents the positive returns, whereas the red represents the negative returns. So there are 3 negative returns in 2015, 2020 and 2022. So in 2015, -2%, 2020, -1%, and last year, -4%. These are represented here in red, and the green ones are the positive returns that the company has given. And this is your MAR, which is what you are expecting, a positive 10% return from this company, from your investments. So this is the pictorial representation of what you exactly want. Now what you exactly want may not be exactly what you get. What you're getting with this company is a total of 92%, which is for the last 10 years an average return of 9.2%. Now you had expected a return of 10% here, right? That is your mean average return that you were expecting. But this is low, this is 9.2%. This is not what you would expect, would you? So why it has come down below the mean average return that you're expecting, below the MAR? It's 0.8% down. Why? Now let's just see the negative returns this company has given. There are only 3 instances. but they make a huge difference. Now from the graph here, from the number here that you see, you expected a 10% return, but this company has given these returns: -4%, 9%, plus 9%, -1%, plus 10, 16, 10, 17, -2, 18, 19% returns in the last 10 years. While your average return that you were expecting was 10%. So what is the difference that the company has given from your expectations? The difference is -14% for the last year. Why? The reason is you expected a positive 10% and the company has given a -4% return. So your effective return is -4% and -10%. So it did not meet the positive 10% return, and also it further went down by another 4%. That makes it -14%. This is in the year 2021, it has given 9% return, which is positive, but it was not at par with your expectations. So it has deviated by 1% from your expectation, and that's why we have it here. It's a -1% difference from the MAR. 2020, it's -10, and -1 is -11. For 2019, it has just met your expectations. So 10 minus 10 is 0, 16 minus 10 is 6, positive 6, then again a 0, a positive 7, a -12%, positive 8, and a positive 9. So you don't take in the positive values and the 0 values, you just take in the negative values here. -14%, -1%, -11, and -12%. You square them up. That's -14 into -14, 196, 1, 11 11s, 121, 12 12, 144. Add them up, it brings up 462. You find an average which brings the value to 46.2, and then you find a square root of that, which is 6.79%, which is the downward deviation of your portfolio. So why this number is very important? So it's because two different investments can have the same standard deviation. We have seen in part 1 in this video series, we have seen the standard deviation, and there is a big messy formula to calculate that. So two investments can have a same standard deviation, but not necessarily they'll have the same downward deviation. Now take an example of two stocks that have the same standard deviation and volatility. One of them gives 40% return half the time, but still pays 15 to 20% return in the less successful years. The other one simply gives a flat 10% return every year. Now just consider you have an MAR of 10. You expect a 10% returns out of your investments into that company. The downward risk is same on both the stocks, but the first one has a huge upside potential. So if I compare it with the previous example where the downward deviation was 6.79%, I would reject this stock compared to the other two. The stock that has a 6.79% downward risk, I would reject it straight away. This stock has a negative risk. So I can choose any one of those two stocks compared to the one that has got a negative downside risk, just to avoid a relatively unsafe stock, even though both of them might have the same standard deviation. So in this post-modern portfolio theory, the risk of returns falling below the MAR is measured by the downward risk measurement. Unlike the PMPT, where the risk measurement is symmetric, here it is asymmetric. I'm sure most of you would have heard of the term Sortino ratio. This was first used to measure the downward risk measurement and is now used to measure a risk-adjusted return. That's all for today. See you again in the next video. Till then, SG signing off. Goodbye.